London in 1666 was a bustling metropolis. It was the largest city in England. The city was recovering from the devastating Great Plague of 1665. Thousands had perished in the plague. The city was still grappling with its aftermath. Poverty and disease were widespread. Many buildings were old and made of flammable wood. The city was ripe for disaster. The streets were narrow and crowded. Houses were built close together. Sanitation was poor, making the city vulnerable to fires. In fact, London had a long history of fires, but nothing could have prepared the city for the inferno that would erupt in September 1666. The Great Fire began in the early hours of Sunday, September 2nd, 1666. It started in the bakery of Thomas Farriner on Pudding Lane. A small fire broke out in the bakery's oven. It quickly spread to nearby stores and houses. The fire spread rapidly through the narrow, winding streets. Most buildings were made of wood and tar. They ignited easily, fueling the flames. Strong winds fanned the flames. The fire quickly grew out of control. People were awoken by the smell of smoke and the sound of crackling flames. Panic spread through the city as the fire raged. People fled their homes with whatever possessions they could carry. The fire raged for 4 days and nights. It consumed everything in its path. The flames spread westward, driven by the strong east wind. Attempts to extinguish the fire were hampered by the narrow streets. The city's water supply was inadequate. Firefighting techniques were primitive. Buckets of water were passed from hand to hand. The fire destroyed everything in its path. Homes, businesses and churches were reduced to ashes. Key landmarks were lost, including St. Paul's Cathedral. The fire created a firestorm. This drew in air from the surrounding areas. This further fueled the blaze and made it even more difficult to control. Section 4. Ruins and Rubble. The aftermath of the Great Fire. By the time the fire was finally extinguished, it had consumed a vast area of London. Over 13,000 houses were destroyed, 70 churches were lost, countless businesses and public buildings lay in ruins. Around 100,000 people, a third of the city's population, were left homeless. The fire had a profound impact on the city and its inhabitants. The city was in shock. The stench of smoke and the sight of smoldering ruins filled the air. The loss of life was relatively small, but the destruction of property was immense. Londoners faced the daunting task of rebuilding their lives and their city. Section 5. A Phoenix from the Ashes. Rebuilding London. In the aftermath of the fire, King Charles II was determined to rebuild London. He appointed a commission to oversee the reconstruction. The renowned architect Christopher Wren played a key role in the rebuilding efforts. Wren envisioned a new London. It would be more beautiful and functional. He designed a new St. Paul's Cathedral. It became one of London's most iconic landmarks. The rebuilding of London was a massive undertaking. It took several years to complete. The fire had created an opportunity to reshape the city. Wider streets and more open spaces were created. New building regulations were introduced to prevent future fires. Section 6. From Tragedy to Triumph, London's Enduring Legacy. The Great Fire of London was a tragedy. It also marked a turning point in the city's history. The disaster led to improvements in urban planning. Fire safety measures were greatly enhanced. The fire also fostered a sense of unity and resilience among Londoners. The new buildings were constructed with fire-resistant materials. Brick and stone replaced wood. The city's infrastructure was improved. New sewers and water systems were built. The Great Fire of London serves as a reminder of the destructive power of fire. It also highlights the indomitable spirit of the human spirit in the face of adversity.